Have you ever heard that having sex creates an unbreakable soul tie? This is a huge idea within purity culture, and it's harmful. Hey, my name is Sam. I'm a former youth minister who taught some really toxic shit around purity to teenagers, and I'm now trying to expose some of those harmful ideologies that I once believed and taught. I recently came across an Instagram post that was a video from a youth service of a local church that I've attended a few times, and the youth pastor was talking about this idea of soul ties. So I'm going to play that right now here.
They decided they were going to engage in premarital sex fornication. And everything was good because they talked for a few months, then they became boyfriend and girlfriend, and they really liked each other. But then Mr. Blue had eyes for Mrs. Red and not just Mrs. Pink. So Mr. Blue decided he didn't want to be with Mrs. Pink. So they broke up, and when you break up, they decided they were going to separate from each other. But when you separate from someone when you're engaged sexually, it's not a clean break. There's a lot of blue on the pink, and there's a lot of pink on the blue because some of his soul is on her and some of her soul is on him. It's called a soul tie.
Look, I used to teach this too. I've shared the exact same illustration, but I deeply regret it. Here's why this soul tie teaching is so toxic, especially for teenagers. First, our brains are incredibly powerful. When you tell teenagers repeatedly that if they're intimate with someone, that they're going to have an unbreakable bond with them, they're going to start to believe it. So when they end up breaking up, they feel like an entire part of them is missing, and then they'll start to act out in ways that seem to prove that it's true. For me, the only reason I ever felt like I had a soul tie to somebody that I was with before I was married was because the church repeatedly told me that was true. The minute I let go of that belief, that soul tie was gone. But then it gets worse because teaching teenagers that sex creates soul ties completely ignores power dynamics and consent. It fails to consider situations where someone is coerced or assaulted. Are they supposed to believe that they are forever tied to their abuser? Because that's incredibly damaging. Teaching teenagers that sex creates soul ties can dangerously confuse trauma bonds with healthy attachments, leading them to stay in harmful relationships. When teens believe that their souls are permanently intertwined with someone that they've been intimate with, they may mistake intense emotional responses stemming from trauma like anxiety, fear, and depression as evidence of a soul tie. This misunderstanding can trap them in toxic or abusive relationships as they struggle to break free from this supposed spiritual bond. By promoting this misleading concept, we risk undermining their ability to recognize and escape unhealthy dynamics, ultimately prioritizing a false sense of spiritual connection over their well-being and safety. Teaching teens that sex creates unbreakable bonds not only sets them up for unnecessary heartache, but also traps them in toxic beliefs about their own worth and agency. It makes them think they're permanently damaged or incomplete after sex. So let's empower teens with the truth. Our connections are shaped by our beliefs. We can change our mindset and we can change our world around us. So let's break free from these toxic teachings and build a healthier understanding of intimacy and self-worth.